explain this, anyone who believes in someone exclusively or blindly would have to believe this will not have a good outcome. This blind faith makes people sink into a sea of despair and make them helpless, and taking that opportunity, the protector on became a eater and wanted to build my father's house. It has a connection with this incident. My father was a honest officer of Sonali Bank in 1979. With the loan money from my father, a one-story house was built on 8.5 kathas. A 6-story foundation was used to build a single-story house, which is still there. Although our houses were complete, the doors were wooden, and the street house was built facing north-south. The Shotan wind used to cool our body and mind. The houses of the locals in this area were very big. However, there was no other house as big as our house in this financial area. We had a total of 5 houses. 2 bathrooms were Cuban and the kitchen was outside the house. At that time, there were no other buildings around. It was going in the middle of the pretend field. Even during the day, he used to keep many foxes. My father was very busy. He was a loving man. There was no fruit or flower tree that he had never done. He bought it to anyone as much as he could, from far and wide. Mangoes, jackfruit, lychee, guava, kamranga trees, and arjuna trees, mahogany, etc. And among the flowers, there were jaba, kamini, ganda, and other diggy-dows trees. In front of our house there was an entire open yard and big betel trees and other trees all around, and behind the house there was a big java flower tree. I have never seen the java tree anywhere. We used to climb on it and play. Imagine how big the flower trees is. And along with the rows of cocktail and mango trees, our yard was the color of the earth. When it rained, white like the skin of fair-skinned people. We did not cry since childhood to think that God created humans from earth. Then the people sitting there were made of that soil, especially my mother. Maybe God told me if on a clear night the midnight fell on the soil, it would have seemed from afar. They were lying on white clothes from the soil, and there were 21 clusters of bamboo bushes and a small palm tree in the east of the house. In fact, our house was as beautiful as it was during the day, but after dusk it was just as scary. As our yard was big, the girl of the area would come to play at our house in the afternoon, but after dusk no one dared to enter the house because we had so much work. People were very, especially those who worked and returned home. They would see someone dressed in white getting down in front of the house, but from the close by, and then someone would see a change. I would hear one person say, "I have never seen anything myself." The elder sometimes saw something like a black shadow. However, on my elder sister saw a fireball during a storm. It disappeared from the tamarind tree's neem tree to the neem tree. The distance between those trees is a lot. In fact, the further life is spared, the more supernatural thing is paired with nature. So there was no need to worry about them. Anyway, let's start the story. Part 1. I was in the year 2000. There was a tin house on the north side of your house. There was a tenant there, and there were many tenants before that. However, the people who came this time were a little different. The beginning of the story was that my aunt came with them. Her name was Paribanu. She had a husband and a daughter. She was about 23 years old. A family of 3, but at that time she was with her mother. She was about 75 to 18 years old or more, and old woman had a warmth in her face. He called her by her name. She would come sometimes and stay for a long time. There were trees. There were 3 brothers playing with her and one of her own. Whenever your mother would come, I would see that she was sick. Old people can be sick. But 112 I noticed how she would talk when she was sick. It seemed strange that grandmother would talk and everyone would be by her side. He would also sit and hold her hand and say, "Regulation, bring mangoes to my locally for disease." We were very surprised to hear such thing. One day I came to know that she had been recognized and thus seven jinn had been with her since childhood. What a terrible fear, but it seemed quite interesting. Tell me a little about the incident of recognition. 19 at the age of 7, they plucked the flower of a tree and made a garland and wore it around her neck. Since then, thus things have been and staying with her because the tree was the woman's younger son. Paribanu Khan's younger brother was a poet and his name was Memphis, but everyone called him very affectionately because they were from the Maulana of Ghaforgan. In the regional language, they used to addressed the younger ones as Kutti. Everyone called him Kutti Bhai, Kutti Mama. I also called him Khuntima. One day I asked my mother why she didn't chase me away, knowing that I had a jinn with me. She replied the jinn was with my mother even before I was born, but this jinn mixed with her blood and killed my brothers and sisters, so I can't believe it. Anyway, he was a Guru of Kutti Mama, whose name was Hazrat Mama, was disciple of Kutti Mama in Kormas. He looked like a thin black man with a dark complexion and was 5 feet tall. He was about 7 inches tall, had a French cut black beard, always wore colorful Punjabi and white pajamas, applied perfume, prayed 5 blood prayers, drank pan, and was very neat and clean. His speech was quite elegant. You could tell just by looking at him. He was a gentleman. On the other hand, that Guru Hazrat Mama was a thin black man with a clean shave, always wore normal shirts and pants, but one day he would pray. His speech was short. His word had no weight. He would speak in a funny way, and we don't know whether he has telling the truth or lying. Exactly one when they spoke, the next moment they talked differently. The work of these two was the same, but their natures were different. They used to bring in jinns, and the mother would tell K to him, and the mother would talk to them. She would help them and could talk directly in exchange for money. During the actual installation, with China Kubiras used to give Kutti Mama seat to any one of them. If the Guru was sitting at the top, meaning that Hazrat Ma, he would give Kutti Mama seat, maybe to show respect before he died. Hazrat Mama would bring in jinns of both Hindu and Muslim races, and Kutti Mama would only bring in Muslim jinns. There was a strength similarly between them, and that is that just like Kabira's fathers, the nature of the jinns, the nature of that jinn means that as a father and mother are, the child is also similar to them. That is, Kutti Mama would not unnecessarily, if he spoke sarcastically, then China would not talk unnecessarily, and just a Hazrat Mama used to joke and make fun of him. He would also laugh, she would also laugh and make fun of him while doing what was necessary. That doesn't mean they were stupid. I mean they used to laugh and joke like humans. Even they would speak English, Urdu and Hindi. Their friendly behavior made me and my family loves and trust them. I will actually tell you some normal rules of sitting so that you understand that they exist, and I will give some proof that they actually appeared. Before that, I will tell you the method of appearing. The jinn they used to appear would come to a dark room. There should not be a single drop of light anywhere, not even the soft light of the switchboard light should be there. If there was darkness outside from under the door, it would be closed with a cloth or a sack. Most of the time, the main switch of the house would be turned off, since they used to come late at night. That means they would never host Asr before 9 o'clock at night. They used to in our house. After the call was answered, after eating and drinking and everything around was deserted, it was time to host Asr.